Right on, writers. Welcome back to the Books by Adrian Author platform. This is the Writer's Den, where we interview authors and other creative people about their authorly and creative things, about their lives, about their business, their craft, their products, all of the above. Today, we have a very, very awesome guest. His name is Lane Trompeter. He and I shared a table at the Orlando Reads Books 2023 convention, and we hit it off. This guy is great, so I can't wait to talk to him and get caught up with him and with all of you. So stick around. We've got a lot to talk about with him on his fantasy books. This, again, is the Books by Adrian Author platform, the Writer's Den. Welcome, and sit back and relax. Grab a snack or something. Let's do this. All right. For you first timers, my name is Adrian Santiago. I am an author and YouTube content creator. I wrote a book called Shadow of the Spark. It is the first novel in a series called MYTHIC. And this is a big sci-fi fantasy epic. The first novel is a murder mystery. It is available wide. And right now, for Black Friday week, all week long, Shadow of the Spark is $1.99 for the ebook. $1.99 across the board. Anywhere you go, it's going to be $1.99, so you can buy the ebook that way. But if you want the paperback, I have signed, personalized paperbacks available for purchase at 33% off through my Ko-fi. And if you already have the novel and you fell in love with the characters and maybe you want some cool swag, click on the link down below to my store and go check out a 30% discount over there. Now, here's the thing. The store discount code might not be working. I am dealing with customer service on that side to fix that. If you go and it doesn't work, wait. All right, wait. I am going to make sure that I get it working, and I am going to make sure that everybody who wants to take advantage of that discount will get it. So if it doesn't work when you go to check out, just cancel your order and wait. Let me know. I'll let you know when the discount is working again. But the Ko-fi and the ebook is available right now wherever you want. So go pick up your copy of MYTHIC Shadow of the Spark. It looks very much like this. Like that. Like that. It's everywhere. All right, y'all. What else? What else did I want to talk to you about before we get started? Oh, the death and rebirth of Bella Erdman. You can always get the short story for free through my newsletter, but now you can also get the actual ebook for free as part of the Black Friday deal. It comes with 3 sample chapters from the novel. So if you are on the fence at all about the novel, pick that up and enjoy. That is currently free all over the place. Go check it out. All right, y'all. Enough of the business. Let's get down to the fun. Leave me a like on the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. Questions for my guest, Lane Trompeter. I want to see a big Q in the chat. I will throw questions up. This is an awesome fantasy writer, and I can't wait to talk to him. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get him out here. The one, the only, Lane Trompeter. Lane, welcome. How are you, bud?
I'm fantastic, man. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you again. It's been a while.
Couple months. Yeah. It was fantastic to sit with you at the book signing.
Dude, you were my biggest cheerleader. Like, we were there, like, selling each other's books, basically.
Oh yeah, tandem. Might as well have been a team.
I love it, man. It's good to get paired up with somebody who actually gives a damn. That's
100%.
It's really awesome. Lane, I'm going to give you one quick moment here. I'm going to give you the floor. You're going to tell the folks at home who you are, where you are from, and what you are currently working on. Introducing, ladies and gentlemen, Lane Trumpeter.
Hi, I'm Lane Trumpeter. I'm raised outside of Atlanta, went to school in Tennessee, and then came down to Orlando to be a teacher. I always knew that I wanted to be a teacher. No, sorry, I always knew that I wanted to be a writer, but I decided that I'd be a teacher instead. Which, as a teacher in Florida, you can imagine how that's working out. But right now, I'm working on the fourth and final book in the first arc of my series, The Eternal Dream.
Right on. Awesome. And I can't wait to talk to you about those. We already have people saying hello in the chat. Off topic, but did you cut your beard? No, I did not, but my hair is up, and that's probably why everything looks a little different. When my hair is down and all Jesus-y, it looks like the beard is a lot fuller. Okay, we already have a question. When did you know you wanted to be a writer? You said you always knew. What is always? When did that start for you?
It probably started when my dad handed me the Sword of Shannara at 9 years old, and I just kind of fell in love with the whole idea of fantasy. I don't even feel like I got the book particularly. Like, it just the ideas, the magic, the wonder, it just kind of took me over. And I kind of knew I wanted to write at 13, 14. And it took me a long time to realize that goal, but at this stage, I guess you can say I did it.
That's right on, man. That's awesome. Yeah, it's so nice when like these lifelong like aspirations are finally starting to come true, man. The other day, I just got into libraries here in my home county for the first time, so I'm just like to walk into a library and see my book on the shelf. Forget it.
Oh no, that's awesome. I'm gonna have to talk to you about that process.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I've got some hacks. How's Florida treating you, bud? Florida's crazy, and you
uh,
mentioned you're a teacher, so it's probably not going well.
yeah, it's interesting. I teach some upper level courses, some international baccalaureate courses, including a course called Theory of Knowledge, which is about how do we know what we know and why do we believe what we believe. And the unfortunate thing is that it feels somewhat dangerous to ask those questions in Florida right now, which um, it's just an unfortunate nature. But we still have those discussions. We still are persevering, and hoping everything levels out before too long.
Yeah, same, man. Yeah, things are crazy out there, but they're crazy all over.
Yeah.
Uh, this. One of my questions was your biggest influences, and that kind of goes hand in hand with do you have an author that you model yourself after? So, influences in your writing, and then maybe a model author if you have one. What are your thoughts on that?
So I write in first person, and I find that some of my favorite books are in first person. A book from my childhood that I was obsessed with was perhaps the only first person Star Wars novel, which was I, Jedi by Michael Stackpole. And it was just really interesting to see how, like, from the character's perspective, have it be a more visceral experience since um, and like from there, even things like the Hunger Games were very successful doing a similar style, and especially in terms of fantasy. Unfortunately, he's 12 years out of date on book three, but I can see him behind you. Patrick Rothfuss's Name of the Wind is it's just a beautiful book. Every word seems so well crafted and chosen, and the parts that I love are the first person sections. And so I would say that, and also Pierce Brown in Red Rising, if you're familiar. All of
I haven't
those.
read it, but I am familiar with the
Oh
work. Yeah,
man,
I want to
the
read it.
first, yeah, I love the in-person visceral experience of being behind somebody's eyes. And so those are kind of the people I model myself after, is people who do the similar style.
Right on. My one of my next questions was about like the budding of your story, where it comes from, where the idea like gestates from. And as I'm asking that, we also have Jennifer asking, how long does it take from idea concept to finished novel? So where does your idea come from for this particular book? And then we're gonna get to pitching it after. But where's the idea come from, and how long did it take you to do the first novel anyway?
Um, so the first novel was tricky. My original idea was ultimately the prequel, which people who have read my stuff say they want it, but I don't know. I struggle to go back. I always want to go forward.
Mm,
So the how long did the first one? I probably conceived of the world and the magic in college, and then I spent a long time writing from a single character's perspective, like kind of just a true first person narrative, telling the story of someone who turns out after I finished that character, I felt like I was done. I was in the beta reading process. I was thinking, all right, I'm going to start moving towards publication. And then I had an idea. And that idea was to split it from one first person perspective into four, two women, two men. Obviously, it was a challenging idea, but everyone who had read the first one thought that it was fantastic, that they wanted more of the world, they wanted more perspectives on the world. And so I ended up splitting it into four, which ended up being, I mean, that's a it was like writing four more novels and then
mm,
figuring out which parts should go into one. So the from conception to publication of the first one was probably a decade.
wow.
However, I've published two in the 3 years since, or 2 years since. So I now that it's going, we're going.
Yeah, yeah. Now you're cooking with some heat.
Mhm.
Right on, man. Right on. So go ahead and pitch the book to us. What is the Eternal Dream Saga and the Crux of Eternity? Tell us about it.
All right, so the Crux of Eternity is a character-driven epic fantasy novel. It is the story of a beggar, a thief, a scribe, and a princess trying to find their place in a world spreading towards chaos. They're they all have a shared antagonist, even if they don't know it, and maybe the reader doesn't even necessarily know it as you're moving through it. Um, but I've kind of always been fascinated with the idea of weaving characters, characters converging. And so I really love the idea of these very disparate strangers coming together in unexpected ways. So ultimately, it is a long plan. The series is planned to be quite long, but this arc, I will say, is just going to be these four. And this is a self contained story of kind of self discovery and a chain and trying to change the world and resist tyranny. Oh yeah, yeah. Wait, elemental magic. Just so that we can set the world stage a little bit. Elemental magic, a la, the Last Airbender, all the thousand different variations you've read. However, it's a little unique in that it's not just the four primary elements. It's earth, wind, fire, water, but also things like time, shadow, light, thought. Flesh, plants, all separate and varied in their different domains, and there's only one of each at any one time.
One wielder of each.
Yes, so there's 16. There's 15 elements, and they each have one wielder at a time. So it's
That's cool because it really like it controls the magic element there. Like keeps it like there's a cap on it. There's 15 of them. You know.
oh yeah, very low magic, very much more of a real story occupied by magic rather than driven by magic.
If I may be so bold as to share your website here, I think you have a gorgeous website. This
Oh yeah, hover over
has,
the cover with your mouse.
yeah, yeah. I wanted to show the sands first, but yeah, the it goes to the back there, comes to the front, and then you've got. If I go over to books, Look at this website, you guys.
Yeah, behind it, the spinning wheel, those are actually the symbols of the magic.
Yeah, dude. Bang up job on the website. This is beautiful as the covers. Let's talk a little bit about the covers because I know that you have a close partnership with your artist.
Yeah, my artist is one of my best friends in the whole world. He is a fantastic human being in addition to being a fantastic artist. And he, it was one of those things, I had finished the book, I'd gone through beta reading. He was one of my beta readers. And I said, hey, um, if you I was like, all right, I'm gonna go start hiring some professionals, looking at some samples to do the cover. And he said, hey, you know what? Let me give it a shot. And I said, okay, sure. He's a friend. And then he provided the first art, and it just captured it so well. It was just so unique, so beautiful, and his work has just kind of informed the writing as much as my writing has informed his work. It's just wonderful.
It has this very like. Yeah, let me pull it back up onto the. Oops, here we go. Back onto the main screen here. It has this like almost scratchy quality to the lines, and yet the colors are so smooth that like it has this very interesting juxtaposition of like this like these jagged lines, these jagged edges, but like this very like smooth presentation. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's just so cool looking.
Yeah, I know, and I mean, I've gotten some feedback from industry people that it doesn't scream epic fantasy, so maybe we should think about changing it up or something. And
I
you know,
don't know, man. This is
no,
this is pretty epic fantasy. I mean, this does not scream epic fantasy. What does it scream? Like, what are you talking about? Look at
I don't
this.
know. I don't know. I'm just saying no. I love the style we've gone with, and it's so great to have a partner in Evan Chabot. If you ever want to Google him and check him out, he's a fantastic artist, and I don't know if he's open for commission, but let me know.
For sure, for sure. What helps you to fill your creative well?
I would say my creative well is almost always full, and it is finding outlets to expend that energy. So like I always go back to this kind of idea that Stephen King was an English teacher, and he
Mm.
had to quit to get published. He wrote it in his novel. He was like, it drains too much out of you. You just can't be a good teacher and write like meaningful words. And then another fantasy author that I read, Brent Weeks, said the same thing. He was an English teacher. He asked his wife to take a year off and got published, and became like a New York Times bestseller. And I've thought about that. Would my words, would my creative energy be better without kind of expending so much of it? Um, at school, because I'm a teacher that cares. I'm not the I'm not gonna to put a slideshow up or hand them a worksheet. We're talking, we're dynamic, we're moving. But I honestly,
You don't just
I
throw on a movie when you're hungover. Like you don't reel
oh
in
no
that
no
old
no. I mean,
TV. Like
never 12 years, never. But no, I mean, I I will say I coached football for a while, and doing both prevented me from writing. That was too much. It was 2,000 hours a year added onto my full-time job before I ever started writing. So stopping coaching football is actually the impetus that helped push me to getting it done.
since you were talking about it, it sounds like you've already answered this question. But does teaching in any way help or benefit your writing?
Um, well, I have a lot of student fans, which is kind of an interesting thing because I feel like it's so rare to discuss your work with a reader almost in the moment, like
Mm.
people bursting in your classroom door going, "How dare you?" You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like things like, "I knew you were gonna kill him and you did it and it's still tragic," like those
Oh
kind of things.
man.
Um, so it's been very good to be able to just, get some real-time feedback, get some and I mean, I don't know, it's been teaching is also great because ultimately I've taught for 12 years. I've taught high school. I'm now in excess of 2,000 students taught. So I have a lot of characters in my head that I can base off of the 2,000 humans who've shared 200 hours with me, which a lot of, I don't know how many people in the world can claim that they've shared more than 200 hours with 2,000 plus people,
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's jeez. That's I imagine you become a very close knit group.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing is that I'm an introvert who became a teacher, and I hate speaking in front of people, and so
You came to the right place.
yeah, of course, I did all the right things to not want to have to talk to people, but I talked about it with another teacher who shares a similar personality type, and we said we develop a relationship with our students to like get rid of that fear and anxiety, like if they know me and they like me and I like them and I know them, it's way less weird to get up and just start talking.
At what point did it switch for you from, I write because I love writing to I'm going to publish this thing? You said that that first book was an odyssey of 10 years or so. So at a certain point in those 10 years, it switched over from I'm kind of working on a book to I've got a book coming out. I did the thing, it's coming.
um so I went to a writers conference in well, I was supposed to go to a writers conference in Atlanta in 2020. It obviously ended up being a virtual conference. Um, and I'd kind of finished a draft and I was moving towards, all right, let's see, maybe find an agent, try and get it out there, that kind of stuff. And so I went to this conference and um I got some feedback from a editor at HarperCollins that was like, "Hey, if you get representation, I want to see it." And I was like, "Must not suck." You know what I mean? Like at least the base level writing concept doesn't suck. If they read 25 pages and they're like, "Hey, you get representation. I want you to check this book. I want to check this book out." That gave me kind of a confidence boost for sure. Now, subsequently, the did you apply to agents out of curiosity?
No, I didn't go
Oh
that
man,
route. No.
I don't fully recommend it because it is a soul crushing prospect.
I know people who have eventually got great success out of that partnership with an agent, but every single one of those stories starts out with sent out so many letters and so so many rejections and yeah, like
Yeah, no, well, I mean, I thought, hey, an editor at HarperCollins wants this. Somebody's going to be like, that's a door. I mean, you don't even have to sell it, right? Like it's already sold.
sells
I
itself.
2 out of 30 agents responded with interest, and one said no after 6 months with no feedback, and one said no after 13 months with no feedback.
Wow.
And that was it. And I was really hoping on the one that took 13 months, but ultimately, by the time I heard back from her, I had hit publish on Amazon. So, I was done with it. It was a situation
Yeah.
where I knew it was good enough, at least by, I mean, the whole adage, authors don't finish books, editors do. Like we always can find something to nitpick in our work,
Sure.
um, but yeah, I mean, I decided that's the route I want to go. Now I've got control of it. I know when I want to publish and all those kind of things. Set my personal goals.
Yeah. So you went the self published goal in the end.
Yep. Yep.
Self published route rather. Excellent. All right. So then the first book published was the first book in the series, Crux of Eternity, right?
Hmm.
When you're putting this book out, what's going through your head with the whole elemental stuff? Obviously, it's been done. You said it yourself, Avatar: The Last Airbender. You also told me some of the differences in your system, which actually is very intriguing. It makes it a little, it makes it very different from the others. But how are you feeling about like the market
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah. No,
you
I,
know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
I'm hoping to use the fandom of Avatar to have a better market. Honestly, that there was actually an interesting piece of advice on from Brent Weeks, actually, who's another fantasy author. He said he was writing. Are you familiar with his work at all?
No.
Okay. He wrote this series starting the first one's called The Black Prism, and it's all about like this the magic is they can shape light into various effects, right? Like, and it's each of the colors of the rainbow and blah blah blah. Well, so he said he was in the editing process, in the like pre-publication process, and then Brandon Sanderson published a book about color magic. And he said,
Okay.
"Oh, I'm that sucks." You know what I mean? Like I'm the one of the most famous fantasy authors in the world today. Just straight up, seemingly, it's gonna make me look like a copycat.
Yeah.
Um, but ultimately, and this is the kind of thing, it goes back to there's all one story, right? Like we're all telling different parts of the same story. If my work shares similarities, it's an whoever sees their similarities in my work, it's an honor to have emulated you. And so ultimately, if my elemental magic, I want it to be unique. I think it's unique, but um, if if it connects with people who like elemental magic, awesome. If it feels derivative, then writing's not for everybody.
Knowing what you know now, are there any changes that you would make at the beginning of your writing journey? People you've met, habits you've formed, etc. I know you said again 10 years for that first book. There's got to be something you would have done differently.
Um, I would say, would I make any changes from the beginning? I would say I would have taken the time. I probably would have walked away from coaching earlier, just because it was it was so all consuming. And I mean, I coached for a really good team and I loved all the coaches that I was with. So in some ways I don't regret it, but at the same time, I don't think I wrote much in those 6 years, and that's a long time. In that time frame is when I moved from one character to four, and I thinking about that and pondering about that. I don't think I wrote for 18 months, not a word. And so I just wish I'd have sped up the process, done it all faster, chosen, my route. Since it's always what I've wanted to do, I wish I'd prioritized it more from the beginning.
You brought up the different point of view characters again there. Uh, is each book a companion to the other one where you're seeing the same events from a different point of view, or are they sequential? Is it a sequel like the next book and the next book? Because I know it's a different POV character each time.
Actually, all four are in each book. So
Oh,
it
okay.
is, yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So it's sequential where it goes. Chapter one is Kettle, the thief, who is in control of the element shadow. Then you have chapter two, who is Jace, who I'm not going to tell you anything about. You got to figure that out for yourself because it's his
Good.
reveals in book three. Um, chapter three is Ileana, a spoiled, arrogant princess who's raised to basically thinks she's superior to everyone, who is the master of Earth, which she mostly manifests as glass, since Earth and sand is just reconstituted.
That's the
Um,
character on book two with the crystals
yeah,
on. Cool.
yeah, yep. And then chapter four will be Bastion, who is an The way I describe it in the blurb kind of sums it up. The ability to control people's thoughts should be tempered by a moral compass, but Bastian lacks one. So he's if you could get people to do whatever you want, and nobody ever told you not like what was right and wrong. Um, Honestly, when my wife read the first Bastion chapter, she said she looked at me slightly differently. She was like, I did not know you could be like that. Like the fact that you can think like that makes me
Yeah,
stressed about you a little bit.
yeah.
And then so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it repeats. 5, 6, 7, 8 is the same 4, and each book is 20 chapters. So each character gets 5 chapters each book.
That's cool. That's cool. How much world building do you do? How do you decide on soft versus hard systems? Uh, Yours being such a limited magic system, it feels to me like it's one of the harder ones, right? The rules are more fastened up.
Um
Is that right?
well, this is kind of mildly spoilery, but not really.
Okay. You don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to
Yeah,
dive
no,
into
no,
everything.
I'm not worried about it. This era of the world feels very soft because let's say you're the shaper of air, right? You have the ability to control the air. You can create wind. You can, if you're really powerful, maybe you can fly. Maybe you can help make a tornado. You could do all sorts of random wind stuff. When you die, all your knowledge is lost, and the next one is a brand new. The way the power transfers is the next baby born anywhere in the world. It's random chance, and so you die, you never get to talk to your predecessor. You're raised, and all the shaping is a little bit different, and so you can get the basic fundamentals, but ultimately nobody really knows what the hell they're doing. Um,
Yeah, because if you're the only one, you can't be taught by anybody. Though your only predecessor is dead. Okay, and so like you're the only person with that particular elemental control. So you're teaching yourself, and how good you get is entirely up to you.
Yeah, and maybe they left writings, and maybe that can help, but at the same time, this is an era where everything feels kind of soft because everybody's kind of reinventing the wheel every time one of them dies.
That's cool. That's cool.
Uh, yeah.
How do you build your characters and create their arcs? This is really like writery stuff and techniquey stuff. So you can be as broad as you want with your answer to this, but building characters and creating arcs. What's your process?
Building characters. What do they want? Why can't they get it? Those are the primary conflict and building blocks. And what are they afraid of? Right. So, like Kettle, for example, the uh, character on the front cover of the first one, she is a thief. But ultimately, her motivation is nothing to do with stealing. She takes in every orphan she finds on the streets and kind of makes them part of her gang, not in the traditional fantasy, I'm going to exploit children and make them pay like blah, blah, blah kind of situation, but that they call her mother, and she does mother them. And it has to do with, kind of past trauma around her family from prior years. And the thing is that what I try and build characters off of is what do they want? Well, Kettle wants family. Kettle wants family that she can't have because of things that happened in her past. So she determines she's going to make one. And ultimately her job, her kind of motivation in her life is to make a family that she can love and protect. And so I think, and then ultimately, where does this go wrong? Why can they not help it? Right? Like ultimately, this is one of, I mean, this is kind of an arc question, but also a conflict question. One of my favorite pieces of advice I ever saw was threaten everything, right? Like, especially in a first person perspective, it's real hard to kill a first person character, right? Like, because ultimately the story ends. A little bit easier for me since I have 4. I'm not that, I mean, that doesn't mean anything. Don't read anything. That doesn't mean anything. But um, So threaten their livelihood, threaten their family, threaten their mother, threaten their dog, threaten their child, and then kill one of them, and every threat is real, right? Like from then on, once you've done it once, every threat is real. And so that's kind of like the way I build arcs is like, okay, why can't they get what they want? Why can't they achieve their goal? And what does it teach them? And or how do they overcome those obstacles, both in their personality and their, I mean, there's plenty of internal conflict in my books as well. You know, the second book deals a lot with depression, deals a lot with kind of despair. Uh, yeah.
Right on, man. Right on. So each, even though each book has all four characters in it, and they're all told in first person, does each book have a different like forefront character? Would you say like one that the overarching theme is more about? I only ask because of the covers. Having like an individual character on each cover almost gives you like a different vibe for each individual book.
Um, I would say that the climactic events may be driven by one character, but for the most part, they spend most of their time on separate arcs, separate plots, separate conflicts, and they interact with each other and they see the effects of each other's decisions in kind of subtle ways. But I wouldn't say I would say each one kind of gets their time in the sun. Each one gets their time in each book to have a climax, have quieter moments. I'll there's some really interesting, um, really interesting pace decisions that I made where you have, you know, a climax moment in chapter 3 of Jace that ends on a cliffhanger, and then chapter 3 of Ileana is quiet. Suddenly she's just, you know, in a garden, and you're like, wait. Whoa, I want to go back. I want to go back. Why are we suddenly just like we've fallen off this cliff and now we're just sitting in a garden? Come on. Um, and you know, it's a choice. I don't know. Nobody's complained about the pacing, so hopefully a good choice.
Well, my novel has a similar thing. Multiple point of view characters. Every chapter is a different point of view. I don't write in the first person. I write in the third person, so it feels a little different, but ultimately the same thing. And this person is asking, how do you maintain the different voices of the different POVs as you're writing? So, in other words, is it difficult at all to maintain the voice for each individual one? Is it difficult going from one to another one? I know that I wrote a lot of chapters where I intentionally wanted, like you said, to make it a little hard on the reader to like. There's a big cliffhanger, and then you switch to a different character. You're gonna have to wait to come back to that one.
Yeah.
So was it hard for you to like switch voices from one chapter to the other? How do you do it?
I would say it was hard to conceptualize the four characters and make them feel unique. And you can do little tricks where you know, give them certain speech patterns, give them certain unconscious thoughts and actions to make them distinct from one another. I mean, ultimately, it's really hard to not that you are the author of all four. So like to make them feel truly unique is a really, I mean, I try very hard to make them in conception it was hard, but once I started executing, switching to the next character, I'm thinking, okay, what do I what do I care about right now? What are my goals right now? What are my fears right now? And then I just write. You know, I don't struggle with switching the point of view too much, um, personally.
Right on. I'm just giving the chat a friendly reminder to leave their questions with a queue because I have some new people in there. I wanted to make sure. We want to be able to find your questions and put them on. Do you have a favorite character to write thus far?
Um, I would say writing the Sebastian, the bad boy shaper of thought, is very fun. I mean, it's very fun. It's I tell people I spend the first 2 chapters making you hate him, and I spend the rest of the series trying to redeem him. And it's okay to not be successful. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you read him
yeah,
and you're like, God, this guy's a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like, oh
yeah,
no, why am I reading this guy? But people come back. What I find the most interesting about all this is that a lot of people, almost everyone I talk to has a different favorite character and different hates and different likes, and like, oh, sometimes when they come around, I started out, I didn't really like it when Jace came up, like, it was whatever, but then by the end of the first book I started loving him, and I stopped liking this person, but then I loved him in 2, and blah blah blah. So it's kind of a ebb and flow of both who I like writing and who people like reading.
yeah, for sure. Well, you mentioned that you're writing the fourth book that's coming out next. Uh, is this the final book in the series? How long does the series go for? What are your plans there?
So this is the final book for this arc, these 4 characters. The 4 of the initial one, and then there's going to be a very large time jump. It's going to be a whole new series, basically. Like totally same world, but just imagine if the Industrial Revolution was magical with no industry. And that's the premise that I'm working off of for the world building of the second arc. I already know 3 of the 4 characters really well that I want to move forward with, but I have some really interesting ideas of what if the Industrial Revolution was fueled by magic. And not really steampunky, not really cyberpunky, but like just a world that came into its maturity magically, and you like the difference is going to be very stark.
I love it already because that time jump, and not to compare you again to the Last Airbender, but it reminds me of after the original series, the Last Airbender, that time jump, and then going into Korra, the industrial ages happen. They have cars now. They have so like it shows the progression of the world, new characters, new story, new adventure, familiar world in an unfamiliar place in time. I
Yep.
love that. That's a really great way to keep the series going, to keep it fresh, to do something different while still being in the same. That's a great idea. I like that a lot. I like that a
Yeah.
lot.
The plan is probably 3 arcs of 4. I'll probably end it at 12, which is a little daunting, but then again, I'm already 4 down, third of the way, or well, 3.5 down.
Well, you've already created a hater of you.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, Jennifer, hit him. You know what I mean? Like you can desire that, and you'll be one of there are people who go, I hate him so much. Why do I like his chapters? Like those kind of things. So
It
hope,
makes you mad that you like his
yeah,
chapters. And
yeah,
you hate
yeah. Why do I understand him?
it. If you needed to kill one of your Fab Four, which one would? Oh, well, this might be getting into spoiler territory. Maybe you don't want to answer this one. Which side character would be the hardest to kill? I like that question better. Which side character would be the hardest to kill? Not
Uh,
impossible, mind you, just the hardest.
hardest side character to kill. Hardest side character to kill. I already know who's gonna die, so it's kind of like this is like a tricky
Yeah,
one. So I guess I
yeah,
can go
maybe
with.
don't answer it. Yeah, no, that's okay. That's
Well,
okay.
I can go with
Find out in
who.
the pages. Of
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I will say I am willing to do major death. I'm not excessive with major death, and if
Cool.
you commit, I promise I will not pull a J.K. Rowling or a Suzanne Collins and just randomly kill beloved side characters off screen because war. I'm not going to do that because that's messed up and nobody should. I will go down to my grave. If you've read the Hunger Games trilogy ever, the fact that she murdered Finnick in the sewers off stage is just such a travesty.
And
Like, come
sewers?
on, dude. Yeah, no, he's this like very dynamic, interesting, powerful side character, and then he just dies off stage, and you're like, what? Surely he's still alive, right? It's off stage, and then later, like, no, yeah, he's dead.
Wow.
No, 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 no. If a side character dies, they'll have earned it.
Let's talk a little bit about the convention circuit. I met you at Orlando Reads Books 2023. We'll talk specifically about that one next, but just in general, conventions. What's your experience been like so far? How many have you done? Uh, what are your thoughts on these conventions, these book conventions?
Um, so I got my kind of first taste of this last March, when a local library did, a free author book signing, whatever you could sign up, and I went, and I just found it so powerful to talk to readers. Even people who hadn't read my stuff, like I feel like having a conversation, I can sell myself and my stories far better than I ever could, online or in a post or whatever. Um, and I found it very powerful. And so I looked this summer for conventions, and I ended up coming to Orlando Read Books as my first. And it was very interesting. I'm It was very useful and very not useful at the same time, because you, I imagine, understand the vast majority of the people there do not write remotely in our genre. And I feel a different perspective that I can't share. Like I
I
think
hear
about,
what you're saying. Yeah,
I had so a lot of romance authors publish 40 to 60,000 word books. Um, I would I've published 3 books, and it's almost 500,000 words, so I should be at 10 if I was writing romance. You know what I mean? So like it takes me a minute to publish, which is something that they always talk about, how you got to publish consistently and publish quick if you want to be successful and blah blah blah. But if I'm writing 150,000 word books, what human is publishing quick? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like that's a different animal.
yeah.
And so I found a lot of the advice useful. I found a lot of the ideas very interesting. I really enjoyed our time together at the signing table, just talking to readers. Again, people who weren't there for our style of stuff, who still ended up picking it up because they saw us and talked to us and kind of knew, that we came off as authentic. Um,
What I found interesting is that I agree with you that most of the authors there were romance authors, and so most of the events were kind of geared towards them and the way that their side of the book business works. Uh, but for those of us who wrote sci-fi, I was finding that once the readers started showing up, there was way more sci-fi and fantasy readers than there were romance readers, at least at the events. Maybe on the
sure.
sales floor itself, like the people showing up were going to mostly be those romance readers that were looking for those romance authors. But at the events with the readers, like they were sci-fi and fantasy geeks, like looking for like where's our stuff? This is all
Yeah,
romance.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting, the whole idea that it's still held true that half of all money made in all of publishing is romance.
Hmm.
And I mean, there was a crazy statistic in the about the early 2000s, that was 40 sorry 50% of all book sales were 3 authors, and it was Stephen King, J.K. Rowling, and James Patterson. Nobody else. 50% of all book sales were them, the 3 of them, and then 45% of the rest was romance. And 5% of all book sales from like 2000 to 2010 was divided by every single other author.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a crazy statistic to think about. But I mean, like ultimately, Santiago, we need to pair together and write some sci-fi paranormal romance, and that's where we're going to start making our bucks. You know what I mean? Like that's where the
Yeah.
money's at.
Yeah, we need a robot and an alien, and they gotta smash.
Yeah, yeah, and then they start looking, like maybe I don't care that they're a robot. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
Is that a nice curve of that metal booty?
yeah, exactly. Look at the way that the chrome just shines on that butt. Yeah, man. No, yeah, that's what it's gonna take. That's what it's gonna take. I would totally believe all of that. Shannon agrees with us with the whole like, how can I publish quick when I write fantasy? My book too, 147,000 words, and I'm trying to keep the other one at a comparable length, but it's probably the next one's probably going to be even bigger, and it's like that's not coming out 3 times a year, man.
No, no. People are like, I publish monthly. Yeah, okay. You
That's
publish
part of
what?
why
10,000 word novellas?
exactly. That's part of why I moved into fantasy romance, but I'm finding I really like the genre, reading and writing it. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Alien Robo Erotica. I think those are out there.
I thought you can find it.
I
If you
know those are out
conceived of
there.
it, you can find it.
I know those are out there. I've seen them in the newsletter swaps on Story Origin. They are
Oh
out
yeah,
there.
there's some wild ones out there.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's some interesting stuff. All right, so we got 10 minutes left in the show, so I figure this is as good a time as any. We've talked about how kind of uneasy the whole convention thing is, the highs, the lows, the goods, the bads. Let's pitch our ideal author convention here, because I definitely enjoyed and appreciated the author reader interaction at Orlando Reads Books. When that finally started happening on that final day, I was really into that stuff, man. I liked having them in the room. I liked being able to talk to them directly about the books. As you said, whether it's at the table or at the events where we're getting them excited about the books, like that was awesome for me. So I would really like to have something like that. Maybe organized a little better so that we could all hear each other. I don't know. But
or maybe some mood lighting at the masquerade. Uh,
yeah, some
maybe
candles
some
or
music at
something.
the masquerade.
Yeah. I didn't I
um,
didn't I didn't go to the masquerade.
oh, you
But
didn't
that's a
go?
no,
Yeah,
no,
I
I didn't
mean,
go to that one.
it was like the conception of everything for Orb was awesome, and it was my first one, so I don't know how well it's been done, but
I
the
mean, it was the
conception of
11th
everything was great.
annual. Like they should have like worked out all the bugs by now.
Yeah, I think they struggled in COVID. I don't know. I don't know.
That
I
makes
mean, and if
sense.
any of the
It's a new world.
organizers stumble across this video, talk to us. You know what I mean? We'd love to give you feedback. Um, the I thought a lot of it was great. I feel like it was a little strange to tie the you have to go to the industry days to be a part of the author reader stuff. Like ultimately, I feel like that doesn't need to be the case. Like you that I would love to see just an author reader event where it's just a weekend of events where you can do various things and see various authors and talk to them in person, and there's different, right, like the speed dating thing, really cool idea. I would love to see it executed in a more personal fashion, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
like me and a reader, or me and you and two readers, and we just talk for a couple minutes, and just kind of, I just love the idea. I just want to see more readers. I want to talk to them in person. I want to be a part of it. I don't even care about a signing or whatever. If that's what you have to bill it towards to get people to come, whatever. But I want to talk to readers in their like when they're looking for books and I'm looking to get my story in their hands.
yeah.
So yeah.
See, one of the things that they pitched for it was that like coffee time or whatever it was, cookies and coffee or whatever, and um, I really wanted the execution to be that there would be a table of sci-fi authors and a table of fantasy authors
Mhm.
and a table of romance authors, etc. And the readers, the tables are labeled, and
Yeah.
then the readers would go get their cookie, get their coffee or whatever, and then go to the table of their choice and start talking to those authors. I read sci-fi. What do you guys write about? And we can just sit around drinking coffee, eating, and talking about these things right there, like that one-on-one time, would be great like that. And to your point before about like the events where the industry days, they should have been running industry days events and author reader events at the same time, and you could choose to go to one or the other. If I feel like learning right now about my craft, I'm going to go to an author panel and learn about the craft of writing. And if I want to do a little marketing right now, a little networking, I'm going to go and meet with some readers, and just start building that rapport for a couple of days, and then have the big sale on Saturday. That I did like the tables being one day for this much time
Hmm.
at the end of the event. I really liked that. I liked building anticipation in the readers for the books, making them like, they end up getting like a list. They're psyched to like show up and buy the books on their list and everything. Like
Yeah,
that's
there were some concepts at Orb that were really fantastic, right? Like
yeah,
Masquerade, super cool idea, right? If everybody actually shows up
execution.
dressed up in masks, you dim the lights, you put on music, you set up a dance floor that no one's going to dance at because it's authors and readers, and then you and then you let people talk, right? Like let people mingle, let people go, "Oh, like, are you an author or a reader? Let the air of mystery go and kind of like see what happens." I felt like it since you didn't attend, like ultimately we got an assigned seat, and I ended up sitting with 10 uh, authors and 2 readers, and nobody ever said get up. And the lights were on and there was no music and whatever. And so ultimately, no lie, my cover artist and I got everyone up. We stood up and made our table stand up, and then all of a sudden everybody was up and mingling. But it was like an hour and 15 minutes before we were like, okay, well, if somebody's got to do it, you know what I mean? And just got up, forced our table to get up. Everybody started moving, and then it got more relaxed, and you could talk to people.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, just talking to people. That's what I want above all else.
yeah, for sure, for sure. You could even make it really clear the difference between, like, you could have, like, for example, at Orb, the authors had their lanyard with their, I'm
Hmm.
an
Hmm.
official author or whatever. You could have the readers with a little name tag. Hi, I am so and so, and I read sci-fi, or I'm so and so, and I read fantasy, or whatever it is.
My name's
And
Inigo Montoya. Yeah.
yeah, and that way they can find authors that they might be interested in, but also authors can find readers. And like,
Hmm.
oh, this person reads
Oh,
fantasy. I
you're
read
only
fantasy.
into romance? I don't need to spend a bunch, not waste my time, but you know what I mean? Like I can talk to you, but I might pitch my book to you, but ultimately I know that I'm not what you're looking for.
See, that's why
That's
I write genre benders, man. Like, anybody walks up, I'm like, "What are you into?" I got some of that in the book too. Like, I got
I
some
know,
of
well,
it.
that,
Be like
I've struggled
romance.
with
There's
that.
some of that in there too. Let's go.
I've struggled with that. I have because like I know that the people who love my books the most are my LGBTQ audience, but none of that stuff happens in book one. And so I feel weird marketing it in such a manner
Hmm.
when
Hmm.
it's only hinted at, it doesn't really exist in book one, because I don't want to alienate a reader who goes, "Oh, I'm expecting X," and then that doesn't happen.
Yeah. No, yeah, you absolutely have to like deliver on what you're marketing. I can't just go around saying that I have romance in my book if it's one kissing scene, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, yeah. If you put romance, they expect sex on the page. You know what I mean? Like that's the reality.
good day, guys. Just jumped in on the back end of Lane's last comments. What is the biggest hurdle in Lane's point of view about orchestrating that kind of close knit meet and greet multi-purpose hub interaction? To be clear, we did not, neither did he orchestrate, or we were just there. But we would like to create. We're just spitballing ideas here.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, that close knit meet and greet, the multi-purpose interaction, like what might be some of our biggest hurdles to cross over there? Certainly, the noise was one at Orb. It was noisy.
I think having a big enough space, having an organized enough space, having clear signage and expectations, like I honestly have no idea what was sent to the readers, as part of this convention. But like the whole idea of set the expectations of what will happen at each event very, very clearly to anyone who signs up. at this point, you're going to get the opportunity to move from table to table talking to X. Their genre is going to be displayed. If you feel like you want to skip somebody because that's not your preferred style, you go ahead and skip them. However, what's you're going to use that skipping opportunity as a chance to go get some coffee and a donut, instead of just like standing around or moving to the next table and crowding things or whatever. And I mean, like, ultimately, um, it's it's kind of the biggest hurdle I would probably say is advertising. You have to make sure that authors and readers are there with the same goals in mind. And I think that that's the biggest hurdle, is, like when I did this thing in March at the local library, half the people I talked to were just going to the library. They had no idea that the event was even happening, but it was great because they would go, "Hey, who are you? Why are you sitting here with your books on a table?" And then I got to have an authentic conversation with them about it. I think that the biggest hurdle is making it personal, right? Having time to talk to someone one on one. When at Orb, before the masquerade started, Evan and I, my cover artist, went into the hotel bar. We got a beer. We sold 2 books to the readers who were there getting a beer ahead of time.
Yo, look at
Yeah,
that.
we were just like, "Hey, yeah, oh yeah, we're authors here, blah blah blah. Oh, what do you read? Do you read fantasy? Sweet, yeah. Oh, you know, we don't want to sell it here. Check out the website. My buddy made the map, right? Like, and we were just like playing off each other, and there we go. 2 people wanted to read our stories because of an authentic uh, conversation.
That's what's up. Your covers are the best marketing in the world, man. My sister came by the table and she bought all three of your books. She was like,
Has she read them yet?
I don't know. I don't know if she started. I know that her to be read pile is quite
Yeah,
a pile. So I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
But she was definitely very excited to purchase them at the very least. All right, bud. That is going to be our show for today. You and I are going to stick around in the green room, so don't go anywhere, Lane Trumpeter. Thank you so much for being with us today. If anybody would like more from Mr. Trumpeter here, come back on Friday when the green room episode that he and I are about to record will air. Lane, was there anything that you wanted to plug, promote, get people excited about, or anything going on that you need people to know about before you sign off today?
Um, Not particularly. I highly recommend you pick up Adrian's books, and if you have an opportunity, check mine out. It Give it a little time. For first person perspectives requires a lot of world building and character building. So, thank you guys.
It's all about the journey, buddy. It's all about the journey. All right. To everybody, remember, Green Room is Friday. There are newsletter links for myself and his website down below as well. You have a newsletter on your website as well, I saw, yes?
I do. Yes.
All right, go sign up for the newsletter. Very, very important. Newsletters save authors. Thank you guys so very much for being in the chat. I really, really appreciate everyone's interaction today. That was great. Cheers, Adrian. Great to see you again. Oh, dude, I have been trying to get Kieran Westwood on this channel for like 3 years, man. Like, help me. Talk to your boy. Tell him to do my show because he needs to do my show. I love that guy's channel. He's so cool. All right, everybody, thanks again. And next Tuesday is going to be Tuber Book Club. We're doing the Dryad's Crown Part 2. All right, y'all. Right on, writers. Thank you very much. We are out.